Alright, gather round everyone, because today we are diving headfirst into a topic that has, let's just say, significantly altered the dynamics of my household, and possibly my sanity. You know how everyone talks about having a special bond with their pet, right? That unspoken understanding, those deep, soulful gazes? Well, mine has evolved a little beyond that. We've transcended mere companionship. We've entered the realm of strategic alliance, a partnership built on mutual affection, shared snacks, and, most importantly, a highly sophisticated, completely adorable, and utterly hilarious agenda of playful revenge. Allow me to introduce the mastermind, the furry, four-legged architect of mischief, my golden retriever, Barnaby. He's not just any dog. Barnaby is a connoisseur of comfort, a master of the puppy dog eyes, and, as I've recently discovered, a surprisingly eager participant in what I affectionately call Operation Pawback. He's got that classic golden retriever charm, all fluffy ears and wagging tail, an endless fount of enthusiasm, and a heart so big it practically spills out of his chest. But beneath that innocent, perpetually happy exterior lies a keen observational intelligence, a talent for timing, and a surprising knack for following complex, albeit ridiculous, instructions. And believe me, the instructions we've been working on lately have been nothing short of cinematic. Now, before anyone calls Pet Protective Services on me, let me be crystal clear. This is all in good fun. It's entirely harmless, completely treat-motivated, and brings an absurd amount of joy to everyone involved, even the unwitting targets. Think of it less as revenge, and more as a series of elaborately staged comedic pranks designed to gently nudge certain family members towards, shall we say, a greater awareness of their habits. We're talking about minor inconveniences, little moments of bewildered confusion, followed by a hearty laugh once the penny drops. No harm, no foul, just pure, unadulterated, family-friendly entertainment. The whole idea, this grand scheme, really started subtly, almost accidentally, as these things often do. It began, as many of my brilliant ideas do, with my younger brother Leo. Leo is a fantastic kid, really, but he has this one, truly infuriating habit. He is a serial snack thief. Not just any snacks, mind you, but termi semtai snacks. He'll stroll into the kitchen, innocent as a lamb, open the pantry, and somehow, magically, my carefully hoarded bag of spicy cheese puffs or my secret stash of artisanal chocolate will simply vanish. It's like a magic trick, except the only thing disappearing is my happiness. I'd confront him, of course, and he'd just offer this infuriatingly charming, completely unapologetic grin, maybe a shrug, and then deny everything. He'd say, "What snacks? I haven't seen any snacks," as if the crumbs on his face were just a natural part of his complexion. It drove me absolutely bonkers. One afternoon, I was sitting on the couch, lamenting the sudden disappearance of my last bag of fancy kettle chips, while Barnaby lay at my feet, occasionally sighing dramatically, as dogs do. Leo, meanwhile, was in the kitchen, making himself a sandwich, humming off-key, completely oblivious to my silent fury. I watched Barnaby, who was intently focused on a tiny crumb that had fallen from Leo's sandwich onto the floor. His eyes were wide, his nose twitching, a picture of canine concentration. And then it hit me. A spark. A glorious, mischievous, utterly brilliant spark of an idea. What if Barnaby, my fluffy, innocent accomplice, could become the instrument of poetic justice? What if he could be trained, not to steal, oh no, never to steal for himself, but to retrieve, to relocate, to gently but firmly liberate certain items from Leo's possession? It was a long shot, I knew, but the image of Leo's face, utterly bewildered, was too tempting to resist. The first step was identifying the perfect target for Barnaby's inaugural mission. It had to be something relatively small, easy for a dog to carry without damaging, and something Leo was particularly attached to. The choice was clear: his gaming controller. Leo is obsessed with video games. He treats his controller like a sacred artifact, never leaving it unattended, always placing it precisely on his desk. But sometimes, just sometimes, in a moment of haste, he'd leave it on the coffee table while he went to grab a drink. That was our window. That was our opportunity. Now, training Barnaby for this specific task was an adventure in itself. We started small, very small. The first phase was simply teaching him to pick things up. We'd use a soft toy, something he was already comfortable with. I'd place it on the floor, say the command, which I decided would be Operation Snag, and reward him enthusiastically when he picked it up. He caught on surprisingly fast. Barnaby loves to please, and he loves treats even more. His tail would wag like a metronome gone wild every time he successfully retrieved the toy. We progressed from soft toys to slightly heavier items, always making sure they were safe for his mouth. We practiced with old socks, then a small, empty plastic bottle, gradually building up to the weight and shape of a gaming controller. The next, and arguably most crucial, part of the training was the relocation aspect. It wasn't enough for him to just pick it up. He needed to take it somewhere specific. My chosen destination for the controller was the laundry basket. Why the laundry basket? Because it was inconvenient, slightly damp-smelling, and generally a place Leo would never, ever think to look for his prized possession. Plus, it added an extra layer of mild indignity to the whole affair. I'd put a treat in the bottom of the laundry basket, then guide Barnaby, with the retrieved item in his mouth, towards it. He quickly associated the basket with a delicious reward. It was a beautiful, Pavlovian symphony of mischief. There were, of course, several hilarious mishaps along the way. One time, Barnaby, in his boundless enthusiasm, decided that Operation Snag meant he should pick up everything within a 5-foot radius. I walked into the living room to find him proudly presenting me with a remote control, a slipper, and my car keys. All at once, his mouth full, looking like a very happy, very clumsy furry hoarder. Another time, during a practice run with a stand-in controller, he got a little too excited and launched it across the room with a mighty headshake, sending it skittering under the sofa. Retrieving it involved a fair amount of crawling and dusting, but it was all part of the learning curve. We also had to work on the drop command. It was important that he didn't just chew on the controller once he got it to its destination. He needed to gently place it, then release. We practiced with a firm drop it, followed by an immediate treat, reinforcing the idea that letting go was a good thing. The biggest challenge, though, was the stealth. Barnaby, being a golden retriever, is not exactly known for his subtlety. He tends to announce his presence with a joyful woof and a full-body wiggle. We needed to work on a quiet approach. This involved a lot of whispered commands, hand signals, and practicing when Leo wasn't around. I'd pretend to be Leo, sitting on the couch, engrossed in a fake game, and Barnaby would have to sneak up, grab the decoy controller, and retreat silently. It was like watching a fluffy, slightly clumsy ninja in training. He'd try to creep, his tail giving him away with tiny, almost imperceptible wags, his big paws clunking softly on the floor. It was adorable, and surprisingly effective after a few weeks of dedicated practice. He learned to move with a purpose, a focused intensity that was quite remarkable. Finally, the day arrived. The stars aligned, the planets were in retrograde, or maybe Leo just got really thirsty in the middle of a gaming session. He was deeply entrenched in some epic online battle, headset on, completely absorbed. He paused to grab a drink from the fridge, placing his precious controller on the coffee table. Just for a moment, he thought. But that moment was all we needed. I caught Barnaby's eye, gave him the subtle hand signal we'd perfected, a discreet tap on my leg, and whispered, just barely audible, "Operation Snag." Barnaby, bless his furry little heart, transformed. His playful demeanor shifted to one of intense focus. He moved with an almost unbelievable quietness, a low slink that was entirely out of character for his usual boisterous self. He padded softly across the living room carpet, a golden shadow gliding towards the coffee table. His nose gently nudged the controller, Then, with a practiced ease, he carefully took it in his mouth. He didn't chew, he didn't even slobber, which was a minor miracle. Then, as if on cue, he turned and, still moving like a silent, fluffy phantom, made his way towards the laundry room. I held my breath, my heart thumping a ridiculous rhythm against my ribs. I watched him disappear into the laundry room, heard the faint rustle as he deposited the controller into the basket, and then he trotted back, tail now giving a tiny, triumphant wag, looking up at me with those big, expressive eyes that clearly said, "Mission accomplished." I gave him a silent, enthusiastic thumbs up, and then, because he was such a good boy, a handful of his favorite treats, which he devoured with gusto, his wiggles returning full force. Moments later, Leo emerged from the kitchen, a glass of juice in hand, ready to resume his digital conquest. He glanced at the coffee table, then did a double take. His brow furrowed. He looked around the room, under the couch, behind the cushions, his confusion growing with each passing second. "Where's my controller?" he mumbled, his voice laced with a growing panic. He started retracing his steps, muttering to himself, "I just put it here. I swear I just put it here." I watched him, completely poker-faced, occasionally glancing at Barnaby, who was now innocently gnawing on a chew toy, looking as if he wouldn't hurt a fly, let alone orchestrate a complex prank. The search escalated. Leo's voice grew louder, his frustration more evident. He was convinced it had simply vanished into thin air, or that some mischievous sprite had spirited it away. He began accusing the usual suspects, his invisible roommate, the house ghosts, perhaps even an alien abduction. He even eyed me suspiciously for a moment, but my innocent expression, coupled with Barnaby's angelic demeanor, seemed to deflect his accusations. Eventually, after a good 10 minutes of frantic searching, he decided to check the laundry room, probably hoping it had somehow fallen into a pile of clean clothes. And there it was, nestled amongst the socks and towels, his prized gaming controller. His reaction was absolutely priceless. He just stared at it, completely speechless, his jaw practically on the floor, as if saying no way. He picked it up, a look of utter bewilderment on his face, then looked around the laundry room, then back at the controller, then back at the room, searching for an explanation. He emerged from the laundry room, controller in hand, his eyes wide, and just stared at me, then at Barnaby, then back at me. "How?" he finally managed to stammer. "How did it get in there?" I just shrugged, feigning ignorance, a tiny smile playing on my lips. Barnaby, meanwhile, looked up at Leo with an expression of pure, unadulterated canine love, as if to say, "I have no idea what you're talking about, human. I'm just a sweet, innocent dog." The sheer absurdity of the situation eventually broke through Leo's confusion, and he started to laugh, a deep belly laugh that echoed through the house. He couldn't explain it. He still doesn't fully believe it was Barnaby, though I've dropped enough hints that he suspects some sort of elaborate prank on my part, but the beauty of it is he can't prove a thing. Barnaby is the perfect accomplice, adorable, silent, and entirely deniable. And from that day forward, Leo has been remarkably diligent about where he puts his controller. Mission accomplished, and then some. That first successful mission, the controller caper, was just the beginning. It gave me, and more importantly Barnaby, a taste for the game. The thrill of the chase, the perfect execution, the bewildered reaction followed by the inevitable laughter. It was intoxicating, and it opened my eyes to a whole new world of possibilities. If Barnaby could handle a gaming controller, what else could he do? What other minor inconveniences could he orchestrate? What other family members, with their own endearing but occasionally infuriating habits, were ripe for a little Operation Pawback treatment? The list, I quickly realized, was quite extensive. My mom, for instance, has a habit of leaving her reading glasses in the most obscure places. On top of the fridge, tucked under a throw pillow, sometimes even in the bathroom cabinet. She spends at least 10 minutes every day searching for them, muttering about her memory. It's a harmless quirk, but it's consistent. And consistency, as any good prankster knows, is key. So the next target was clear: Mom's reading glasses. The challenge here was twofold. First, glasses are delicate. Barnaby would need to be even gentler than he was with the controller. Second, the destination for the glasses needed to be equally unexpected, but also safe. I couldn't put them in the laundry basket. That just felt wrong. After much deliberation and a few more practice runs with old sunglasses, I settled on a new hiding spot: the shoe rack by the front door. It's a place she rarely looks for her glasses, but it's also relatively soft, nestled amongst the sneakers and sandals, providing a cushion. The training for this was a bit more nuanced. We had to teach Barnaby to hold the glasses by the earpieces, not the lenses, to avoid smudges or bending. This involved a lot of careful guidance with treats, rewarding even the slightest correct grip. We'd use a clicker for precision, marking the exact moment his mouth closed around the earpiece just right. He'd look at me with such earnest concentration, his brow furrowed, trying so hard to understand exactly what I wanted. It was truly adorable, and a testament to his intelligence. We spent days on this, practicing with various pairs of old glasses. He learned to approach slowly, gently grasp the earpiece, and then carry them with the utmost care. The final step was teaching him to deposit them gently onto the shoe rack, without dropping them or knocking them around. I'd place a treat on the shoe rack, guiding him there, and then praise him lavishly for a soft release. He really took to it. There was one particularly funny instance where he got a little too excited and tried to carry 2 pairs of glasses at once, looking like a very confused, 4-eyed dog. We had to simplify, focus on 1 pair at a time. It was a learning process for both of us, a testament to patience and positive reinforcement. The execution day for Operation Specs was a classic Tuesday morning. Mom was engrossed in her morning crossword puzzle, her glasses perched precariously on the arm of the sofa, a prime target. She got up to make some tea, leaving the glasses unattended. This was our cue. I gave Barnaby the subtle signal, a gentle tap on the armrest, and whispered, "Operation Specs." He moved with a practiced grace, a silent golden blur. He approached the sofa, gently took the glasses,